This information you are about to hear and perhaps view, these are not necessarily the thoughts or the ideas of Gary C.Clement or the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast. We are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with the parties this story is about or was interviewed for. Parts of this content may not be owned by or the property of the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast, G2 Network Media, or any other company we are affiliated with, and this information is strictly the opinion of those being interviewed. This content is for information purposes only, and although we may make reference to various news stories, we share our own independent beliefs about the content and provide our own opinions. Please enjoy the information. Hi, my name is Gary C. Clement, and welcome to the Gary Clement Radio Show and Podcast. Today, we welcome Ms. Carol Olinger, who's a former educator in the Cumberland County School System in Fayetteville, North Carolina. She's also a member of the NC Rise Coalition, as well as an advocate and field director for race and gender equality at Action NC in Fayetteville, North Carolina. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm excited that I get this opportunity.
Welcome. Thank you for being here with us. First of all, please tell us where you grew up and what was life like for you.
I was kind of a military brat. My mom was in the Navy and my dad was in the Army. And when we didn't travel, we stayed with aunts and uncles and grandparents, depending on where people were moving to. So I lived a chunk of my high school in Ohio, and then elementary school, North Carolina, and Browns Mill, New Jersey.
I see. Okay. So when it comes to education, what role did your parents play in helping you make a decision about which way to go?
Education seemed to be very important. You need to go to college. You need to stay in school. You don't want to end up like them, whoever them is at the time. So graduating was important. Getting a good job was important. I wanted to be a social worker, and they said, there's no money in that. Really? So then going into education was ultimately the same thing, depending on where you lived.
Right. I see. And also, like I see, just tell us a little bit about your career, I guess, with the Cumberland County school system. What was that like? What was your job? Tell us about that, please.
That was I started as a volunteer at a kid's school, and then I was a teacher assistant, administrator, and then ultimately a teacher. Oh, I drove a bus for a little while too. I started at the bottom and then just kind of rose through.
I see. Okay. And I guess you also have a family. How many children do you have, and were they part of that system as well?
Yes. I have 4 children, and then I have people that adopted me, or I adopted them, but not through the legal channels. Like, there was a young man that was in the neighborhood all the time. He never seemed to go home. He was a foster child, and he was my son's best friend. So he went on vacations with us. He ate dinner with us. He stayed with us throughout his high school.
I see. Okay. And as far as working with NC Rise Coalition, as well as being the field director for race and gender equality at Action NC, what are those roles? Tell us about those companies, please.
Oh, Action NC is a nonprofit organization. They do have their 501c3 and 401c3. They have both legs, but they mostly focus on nonprofit. They're not for either Republicans or Democrats. They just want to get the information out there, regardless of your political party. I started with them also as a volunteer, and my kids too, because I didn't know that there were like paid canvassers, or you could get paid for working on someone's campaign. So I just started as a volunteer. And then through that, I had some illnesses while my daughter was working. In 2013, I had a brain aneurysm in front of my classroom at Southview High School. So I didn't think I could even do any actual work. So I told them, I can't work. I go to dialysis 3 times a week. But Pat McCoy, the executive director of Action NC at the time, he was like, "But you're here. You're doing this. What days do you work? You're doing a really good job." I was like kind of straightening up the office while I was waiting for my daughter to come back in from her turf, and I was talking to people. I'm a talker. And then the next day, when I came to pick her up, he was like, "I really think you should consider taking a job with us. We will work around your schedule." Really? That's a blessing. Oh my God. Heck yeah. So I worked off and on for a few years, and eventually here I am, capturing people's stories. At the time, North Carolina did not have Medicaid expansion, and we were capturing stories of people who were trying to receive these services. For whatever reason, North Carolina wasn't accepting the money from the government to help the people here in North Carolina. So I started with doing stuff like that and just gathering people together and stories and having many events, to now here I am organizing and planning, and just here I am and talking. We now have a monthly, I don't know, we call it Real Talk, because I want to be able to talk to people and explain it in layman's terms. So our first big one was during COVID. We called it Masked or Unmasked. It's still on our Facebook page. You can just dig through it and find it. Should you wear a mask or shouldn't you wear a mask? And with all the different reasons why people should and shouldn't, we don't believe what the government is saying because of all the things that have happened in the past to people of color. Are you giving us a shot? What is this really for? Why do we have to wear the mask? Can I wear the mask if I go out to eat? Can I wear the mask in the house? Am I going to catch something? And we wanted to be able to, we wanted to be able to explain it to a grandma. Mm-hmm. Explain this to me in a way my grandma would understand. And from there, we just do that once a month on a variety of topics, from wearing a mask to stop killing us. We don't want to defund the police. We want the police to be accountable, because I still need the police to come if somebody is breaking in my house. Don't kill me when you get here and get confused, but I still need you. So defunding the police is not an answer, but making you accountable for the ones that don't act quite right.
Right.
If you know what I mean. Right? We need our brothers and uncles and dads to still be here with us.
Right. So in these things that you're speaking of now, are these part of Action NC or the other organization you work with?
Oh, NC Rise is a coalition of other organizations, Social Change, Shackle Free, Kanita. Kanita is in Rocky Mount, and they're Black farmers. And they would come here when we were doing our food drives and bring fresh veggies from the Black farmers. And we do this for free. We are not asking you how much you make. We don't care what kind of car you drive. If you need food, just drive through the line, because, of course, we started during COVID. Drive through the line, open up your trunk or your back door. You're picking up for 1 or 2 families. That's all we want to know. And your name.
Interesting.
We were able to take that opportunity even now, because the lines are getting longer and longer. We started with about 50 cars. We're also partnered with Second Harvest Food Bank. Now we get 200 or 300 cars at a time. We started in the Cumberland County area, and now we have branched out. We go to Pender and Rayford and just Spring Lake and the Lumberton, the surrounding areas.
Right.
And while they're waiting in line, we can do a survey, register people to vote, tell them what's going on with the issues. Make sure you come to the school board meeting. Make sure you check out what's going on with your county commissioners. Sometimes people, I can go to those meetings? Yes, it's open to the public. You can go. You don't have to be any particular body to go. This is your city. This is where you live. Mm-hmm. So we were happy to educate people on things that they might not know about.
Okay, great. So basically, I guess what I'm getting at then is that it sounds like this organization basically is more statewide. I guess it's community based or whatnot, but it has how could you say statewide implications, or are you all getting funding from the state? How does that part work?
Yes, we are statewide. We have offices in Fayetteville. Even though I live in Hope Mills, we have offices in Fayetteville, Charlotte, and Durham, and they get federal and state funding from a variety of other organizations. CPD, Center for Popular Democracy, is one of our major funders.
One big thing that I guess we are headed to in a little bit would be this next presidential race. What are your thoughts there?
That's so exciting to talk about. I'm having wonderful conversations with people on both sides of the aisle. I first just want to say that I'm excited that we have a female that's on the national ticket running for president. It doesn't matter what her ethnicity is. If she looks brown, if she's Indian, if she's Native American, I think that's just exciting. She's smart. She's educated. She's a former lawyer. I think it's amazing. And the Chucks and pearls, I'm going to wear pearls and I'm going to have my Chucks on, and I can walk out and be a bad beast and get it done and still command the respect from everybody around me, because I can do that with Chucks on and pearls, that refinement of elegance, and I can still run if I need to, and I'm comfortable in what I'm wearing. I think this is all exciting. I think her opponent is worried. I think that he started off with, I'll do debates anywhere, anytime, and now he's not.
Right, absolutely. You're right.
And
so
I will also say, with any candidate, nobody is 100% perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So when people compare, Obama was this, Obama was that, he was great. Because I was one of those ones that would say, Bill Clinton, that's going to be the blackest president we ever get. And then we got Obama. And now look at us now.
Right.
Because, back in the day, women couldn't vote at all, regardless of color. Mm-hmm. And then when you were eligible to vote, you had to take a literacy test. Well, that only shot them in the foot, because back in the day, it wasn't just color people that couldn't read. They were also low wealth Caucasian people that couldn't read either. So now none of us can be able to vote because we can't pass the literacy test. So we'll switch it. Let's count jelly beans. Did you guess them? Oh, no, you guessed right. Let me eat one out of the jar and you're still wrong. I'm just saying. And I'm putting it in a way for people to be able to understand. What? Or let me give you this test that takes, the words don't make sense, the questions are confusing, and you only have 5 or 10 minutes to take the test.
Right.
Really?
Right. That's right. Absolutely. Right. Because I was going to ask you too, in regards to the presidential election, there are a lot of important issues or whatnot that basically are coming up on the ballot. What's important to you? What's important to the organizations that you work with?
Well, for me specifically, my body, my rights, environmental issues in the Grays Creek area or this side of Cumberland County. The water is contaminated, PFAS. I can't pronounce polyfluid something, but it was based from Chemours and DuPont. When they discharge stuff from the chemicals, it has a terrible chemical, a forever chemical, which you can look up. I'm not exaggerating, and it's in our water, and it's flowing down the Cape Fear River. And unfortunately, I was also one of those people that did not believe that environmental issues were racist or had a racist component, to find out later that the pig plants and all the places that have chemicals and these lagoons, not like a blue lagoon, lagoons where the pig waste and the animal waste just goes to sit. It's overlaid with where the slave plantations and things like that used to be, like a mile apart or less, like exactly on top of each other. That is, you're putting it in communities where people don't have a choice. And I'll also say on the environmental issues, specifically for the water that affects everybody, regardless of race, color, because everybody needs water. If I choose to pollute my body with a cigarette that may cause cancer and all these other kind of things, I wouldn't give that cigarette to a baby, but I would mix my baby's formula with water.
Right, right.
This causes thyroid disease, kidney disease. So I'm finding out later because I worked in the school in the Grays Creek area, Alderman Road, that was contaminated, where they're busting in water for us to drink, but the school down the street or around the corner, we're not bringing water bottles to school. What are you guys talking about? You drink the water from the water fountain.
Right.
And then I come home and I live in the same community where the water in the houses are contaminated. It's a test that you have to get. You have to do a whole bunch of hopping through hoops to get it done. And another really quick thing, when people out here or people that look like me of a tanner skin were complaining, it's okay, you can drink this much poison and be all right. What? But then as it went towards Wilmington, and I can't lie, I can't make this up. I've been to press conferences. I've been in documentaries now. You can look it up. Water on Tap, Trouble on Tap, Cape Fear Courage. As it went down towards Wilmington, where there's beach houses and a tourist area, oh my God, the water is contaminated. Hey, can you come and talk to us? Can you tell us what you're doing in your community? How long have you been drinking contaminated water? We just found out a month ago, but now everybody's upset about it.
Wow.
It's a terrible thing. And it's a very real thing. PFAS is real. It's here. So back to your question. Environmental issues. My body, my right. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you are on for a woman's health. If you are a male and you are planning to have this child with your spouse and you get in there, oh my God, if you have this baby, your spouse is going to die. The husband now has to make a decision. Do I keep the wife alive, or do I keep the child alive that I haven't met, that I don't know yet, and expose this child to no mother, because the law says we can't do any type of an abortion, even if it's an emergency, even if it's rape, incest. You could die if you have this child. And if you did all the right things, or the birth control that you guys were using, oh my God, we're not ready to have a kid. That is not for the government, anybody's government to decide. That's between you and your God. That's not for us to be able to judge that.
Right.
So those issues are those issues are important to me, along with immigration. All the people that are here, for whatever the reason, we're supposed to be the land of the free. We do need to protect our borders, but we can't criminalize people that are now here, or the children grew up here and all of a sudden we want to send them back to somewhere they don't know. They know our culture and our language. There has to be some kind of a happy medium. And then, of course, the last thing, because I can go on forever, medical. People should be able to have affordable health care along with a real minimum wage. A lot of people don't know that the state here in North Carolina's minimum wage, I think, is $7.25. National is too. So you hear about raise up, rise up. Oh, the fast food workers are getting $12 and $15 an hour, but they don't have to do that. The minimum wage starts with a 7. People are like, what? So the cost of living and everything else goes up, but you don't want to pay lights, water, car payment, just regular living to get food.
Right.
You know, now you can get it costs more to get an apple or a tomato than it does a candy bar. It's just crazy. It's a vicious cycle. So those are things I think that the president should focus on and look at for all of us.
Right. I agree. I absolutely agree. Yes. Okay. Yes. So when it comes to Kamala Harris becoming the next president, what do you want to see her tackle first?
Healthcare, keeping us safe. I have a son in the military. I'm kind of a military brat.
Mm-hmm.
um, Making sure the military has what it needs.
Mm-hmm.
Our health. I think that our body, our rights is important, because if you get into any part of the project 2025, it's kind of scary, and that's for everybody. Should be kind of scared. We this is not a dictatorship,
Mm-hmm.
and if you take away our social health nets for things that we're now used to,
Mm-hmm.
if you just suddenly cut those, or you're starting to mess with people's social security, I've earned this. This is what I paid into, and it's supposed to be mine when I get up that age, if they don't move the bar versus 60, then it's 65. I think it might be now at 70. You can't mess with those things. And all of these little things are inside of that Project 2025. So the first thing she should be healthcare, our military. Can they find a way to pay for childcare or not make it as expensive so people that are working isn't giving half their check to a daycare, but they still have lights and car payment, and they still need to eat? Because if you work, you can't actually get food stamps. There has to be a way to balance all of that out.
Right. I hear you. Okay. And since you are a former educator, I'm pretty sure you've got some concerns and stuff too about the safety of our kids in the schools, as well as supplies and that kind of thing from day to day, with kids as well.
Heck yeah. So if you remember, and I'm not exactly sure of your age, but when we went to school, all the supplies were there. You sent in very little from individual households. I don't remember a bunch of food drives or a bunch of school supply drives and book bag drives to get the supplies you need for school. What are they going to do? Now you got to send paper, the paper, pencils, the crayons, everything. And the whole banned books, they banned To Kill a Mockingbird. Charlotte's Web is a banned book. Charlotte's Web? If you look that specific one up, it'll say it was banned because the spider shouldn't act like a person. What? Are you kidding me?
Right.
Along with everything else that they're banning, they're slowly wiping away our history. If we can't read about it, how are we going to know that it happened? Like it just was never there, that didn't happen.
That's right. Absolutely.
You're going to pick and choose the history. You can. It is what it is. It has happened. This is how it happened. The cost of schools. I was not, again, no administration is perfect. So they start off with all of these wonderful things. We're going to help get rid of student loan debt, and then they don't finish. They start, the money is gone. What about everybody else? I'm next in line for you to pay my bill. People don't always know that because they start off one thing and then you don't hear about the next part until you have a conversation or actually look it up, look into it. Bullying in school has to change. And if your child is of the LGBTQ community, again, that's a family issue. The teacher should not have to be the one to decide which bathroom that child goes to. We don't have a heaven or hell to put anybody in. We can respect their decisions, but we can't be the ones that say you have to do this or have to do that. Along with the cutting of the hair. I don't like the way your hair looks, so I'm going to cut it off. You can't play on this sport because your dreads are too long or it's too kinky or it doesn't look right to me. Are you kidding me? Public schools, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. Public schools are for everybody. A charter or a private school may not. So you can't give me a voucher to go to a charter school that takes part of the public school's money. And then when I get there and I have a special need that needs to be addressed, but your school doesn't do it, you send me back to a public school, but the money doesn't follow me back for that individual child. People may or may not know that as well.
You're right. The school system is totally different now. I was born and raised in South Boston, Virginia in 1968 and went to school there. And we always had an abundance of everything. Today, the kids have shortages when it comes to the school books, shortages when it comes to school supplies, shortages when it comes to teachers. So, yes, now there are so many issues that need to be addressed about funding.
Yeah, because somebody's pockets are deep. So if you just for a minute talk about the North Carolina lottery, in the beginning,
Mhm.
that was pretty good. And then later they said, oh, we can't base the teacher's salary on gambling. You only can use the lottery money to build the building, but you have to have teachers and the supplies to go in the building.
Right. That's right.
That's terrible. And since you mentioned Virginia, I was born in Portsmouth, Virginia,
Okay.
because my mom was in the Navy. But way back in the day, people may not know, things have changed. If you were a single parent and you were pregnant, you got kicked out of the Navy. I think now um, they're not kicking people out because they're pregnant in the military. I think they just work it out.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, that was like a real thing. Like lots of things have changed. So in North Carolina, there used to be a law on the books that if you were an interracial couple walking down the street holding hands, you could get a citation or a ticket. That was against the law.
Wow.
Obviously, things are now changed,
Yeah.
or as far North Carolina is its own set of weirdness. It could still be on the law books, but no one's just enforcing that. So, like when they were going into Roe versus Wade, or really quick, I'm bouncing all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
How come if you're a felon, you can't vote, but you can be a felon and run for the presidency? Oh, I have an answer for that, because inside the Constitution, it doesn't say that. What? Are you kidding me? In North Carolina, before all of this happened, and I do not know if it's changed, but in North Carolina, you can vote if you were a felon, if
Mm-hmm.
you are no longer on probation and you don't owe any fines, then you're eligible to vote. But everybody doesn't know that. Are they going to go back and change? Are they going to take felon off the application, since this was a pre-requirement to get a job? Have you ever been convicted of a felony?
Right.
Our president, are you gonna ask your probation officer to go overseas before you go somewhere? How does that work? None of that makes sense, but they'll find ways to make it make sense. I haven't read the Constitution all the way through for it to say that. I do know that now they may be trying to wordplay, because it was for a man. It was written for men. Whoever thought a woman could be the president or hold anything in office, and it says man. And if I'm saying my history correct, or how things are, some places may not respect potential President Harris as the person to give instructions. So she may have to have a male counterpart to balance that out, because that's just the way things are.
So it is, in your opinion, that the laws in our nation need to be revisited or changed?
Both. Revisited and changed.
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah. The world is, if I like you, I can like you,
Mm-hmm.
and we can be together. And the law shouldn't say I can't, public display of affection. I can't hold your hand because you don't look like me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be with you because I'm African American and I want to date someone who's Chinese or Native American.
Right.
This is just the way we are. And then what do you do with the children that come out of that union?
That's true. Right. Absolutely. Right.
Because back in the day, if you have an ounce of black, then you're black, right?
That's right.
They might say even a different word.
Yeah.
They make your make your mind up.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Right. In closing, please tell people how to reach you whom are listening to this podcast and want to learn more about you all as well as the companies that you represent.
Yes, www.actionnc.com on there under the race and gender equity part. And you can also call 910-494-5320, and a real person will answer.
Okay. And this is for which organization exactly?
Action NC. That's the one that I work for, but I'm connected to the NC Rise Coalition, social change that's based out of Chicago. Todd Belcour is the director and founder of that. If you look that name up, you'd be like, oh, wow, y'all are all over the place. It's amazing. They do a lot of race and gender equity. He's an attorney, so he fights for the underdog constantly.
Very interesting.
Shackle free. If you look him up, you're like, oh wow. I have made good friends over the years. Shackle free is in Dublin, North Carolina. Shaquita Lassane, you can look that one up too. They have a food pantry, a food van where people can come and just get services and things that they need, to include healthcare supplies and that they get donated from a variety of places. Kanita, it looks like corn toe written on a piece of paper, out of Rocky Mount. They do camps throughout the year to teach you how to farm and have renewable resources that you can do at your house, whether you live in an apartment or not, how you can grow veggies. Absolutely amazing. Amazing. And then, of course, I'm also connected with NOW, National Organization for Women. For the Fayetteville chapter, I am their vice president. That's an organization that focuses on all women issues. It's not just Roe versus Wade. From our hair to our size to, unfortunately, domestic violence, emotional violence, all of these other things that happens within or to a woman's body that we don't always talk about, whether it's menopause or hot flashes way too early, or I'm changing my weight size because of stress. I mean, they're overeating, they're undereating, and they focus on all those types of issues.
I see. Okay, cool. So is there anything that you would like to share before we have to wrap this up?
Make sure you vote. Make sure you're registered to vote. You check your voter rolls, and you have to show up and vote. If you go to our website, you'll see Chuck and Pearl events. That's a national organization, but since we're 501c3, we're doing the same thing, just on a nonprofit level. So you can show up with your Chucks and Pearls on starting August 20th at AmeriHealth here in Fayetteville to do like a mini fashion show, dance, register to vote, or update your voter registration.
We really do appreciate our guests who participated in this episode, and we hope you learned something that will bless your day and your life. For all who are interested in learning more about the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast, please visit www.amazon.com and order my book, The Gary Clement Radio Show, When Strong Afro-American Men and Women Stand Up. It covers everything about us and features a variety of Afro-American personalities to speak out about the importance of education and literacy in the Black community. Well, we thank you for tuning into our podcast. Please send us your email address so we can contact you when we have new releases and new episodes and new projects as well. You can reach us at gccpresents@yahoo.com. And also, if you're interested in submitting any materials or want to get in touch with us, please do so by simply sending an email to gccpresents@yahoo.com. That's G as in Gary, C as in Charlie, C as in Charlie, presents